Welcome to Power Up Memphis. I'm your host, Gail Jones Carson, the Vice President of Community and External Affairs for Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. The aim of Power Up Memphis is to take you, our customers, on an inside tour of MLGW to share our programs and operations to you, our customers. And by doing so, we can all better understand how we function as your utility provider. Today, my guest is J.T. Young, who is the President and CEO of Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. Welcome, J.T.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so today we're going to focus on going forward in 2020.
Okay.
A recent rate increase that we received by the Memphis City Council. We received a gas, electric, and also a water rate increase, which they come in at different times, and also how these increases will help our infrastructure and benefit our customers. So first, JT, I want to congratulate you and the team of employees who worked diligently for the last couple of years to get these rate increases approved, because right now we've been working on this like 3 or 4 years.
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, long time.
So it was a lot of work, many hours.
Great team effort. A lot of folks worked hard, and my kudos to everyone who's been engaged in this process. So thank you. And
we also want to thank the Memphis City Council people who work with us, who listen with us, who learn to understand the need to improve our infrastructure. So on January 21st, the vote was taken to approve the electric rate increase. And prior to that, we had the water rate increase and the electric rate increases to be approved, and they go over maybe 3 years. Could you explain that for our viewers?
Well, and I want to back up real quickly and just say, and to thank our board, because in October of last year, our board for the third consecutive year approved a plan that would allow us to increase our investment in our infrastructure. So they really got the ball rolling after our folks pulled together some great presentations. And then I want to also, like you did as well, thank the council for their acknowledgement and agreement that it's time to move forward. With that said, the plan that we have is basically it's a 5-year service improvement plan with rate actions occurring over the first 3 years of the 5 years. The rate actions in total for the average customer, including water, gas, and electric, results in about a $14 increase spread out over 3 years. And the first action is scheduled to go into effect in July of this year. So there's about a 6-month window of time before any rate activity occurs, and then in the next 2 years, 2021 and 2022, there's planned rate actions for water and electric, and only in 2022 for gas. There's only one action for gas. But overall, about a $14 a month spread again over those 3 years for the average consumption, average customer.
So can you explain to our customers, is not $14 at one time.
Right.
What amount will they possibly see when they get their first bill after the rate increase takes effect?
So in July of this year, with the first cycle of the bill, customers will begin to see an increase in both water and the electric rate. That will come in their July billing, which is typically due beginning in August. And so what looks like for the average customer, it's about $5.90 or so. It's $5 to $5.90, $6 combined, both water and electric. Okay. That's water and electric combined. Again, that's for the average user. What we shared with the council, we showed some maps that indicated by zip code consumption, especially on the electric side. And so really the amount of increase that a customer will see will be based on how much they use, of course, but the rate itself does go into effect. It's about a 3% increase on the electric side, and but that will go into effect in July. So what we basically say to customers is in that time period, we will be able to, and really prior to that time period, we'll begin to start trying to get things going with additional tree trimming. We're looking forward to beginning some infrastructure improvement projects later this spring, even before they see the impact. And we've got some things that we need to do with regards to our wells at our water production facilities. We have 10 of those production facilities around the community, and we have aging wells, and that's affecting our water production capability. So we've got to get busy with that. And so I've told everyone that we are grateful and feel blessed for the opportunity, but now we got to get results, right? So we've got to make sure that we are on track, on time. We have a schedule, we have a plan, and now it's time to execute.
Okay, so I kind of want to backtrack just a little bit, and that was on the rate increase, and you talked about maps that show the council and the public where the most usage is, because many customers felt that when you talk about average, that the people inside the Beltway would have to pay above the average in the rate increase. But when we did our research, that is not what true. So could you explain to our customers how that average works and the usage and where the more dollars will be seen?
So what we find is our average customer, if we take all of our customers on the electric side, all 430,000, if you will, and if we average their usage, the average customer probably uses around 1,200, what we call 1,200 kilowatt hours a month. That's just the unit of electric usage. So it's about 1,200 kilowatt hours a month. But what we found is that in some of the core areas of the community, they actually don't use that much. And what we were able to show through some shaded maps is by zip code. Again, it doesn't mean every customer, but it's just a by zip code look. We found that the lower usage customers are actually, as you said, we call it inside the Beltway. And so those customers tend to use less than the average. So therefore, when I spoke a minute ago about a $5 or whatever increase. So for a lot of those customers, if you look out over the 3 years of rate actions for the electric rate, it's about a $9 increase over the 3 years for electric.
Which is about $3.
Which right. Well, and so when you looked at inside the Beltway area where there's some of the lower users, their average increase instead of being $9 was as low as $5 and $6 over the whole 3 years. So really it depends on your usage. It's completely dependent on how much you use. But what we want everyone to understand is that at the end of the day, we did not ask for this increase to just keep running our business. We really needed it to make additional improvements, and that's what we want to show and demonstrate. And I will say that we're funding our improvement plan in 3 ways. One is through the rate increases that we just spoke about. Another source will be through bond issues, where we will actually go out and issue debt to help cover the cost for capital improvements. But then a third way that we're actually making these improvements is through efficiencies. And we had a study done late last year that recommended some efficiencies that we are implementing over the next 5 years. And so as a result of the efficiencies that we're able to implement, that's another funding stream for some of the improvements that we're going to be able to make. And so it's a 3-part funding mechanism, if you will, for the way that we're going to go about making the improvements to our infrastructure.
Okay, before I go on to my next question, I just want to explain to the viewers that when we talk about Beltway, we really mean like inside the parkways or inner city. And those are the customers who use less than what some people think. And so their average usage is less and their cost will be less. So let's talk a little bit about the savings that we're going to see experience from the Baker-Tilly study. So we are talking about a $92 million savings.
Right.
And so how will we get that $92 million savings and over what period of time? And how will that impact the service we provide our customers?
So what we've done is we've put together a plan that recognizes the estimated savings of about $92 million. That's over a 5-year period. So between now and the end of 2024, we have baked into our plan for the service improvement about $92 million worth of savings. 80% of that $92 million comes by way of reduction in what we call full-time equivalent employees. So it's a labor reduction of about 80%. And our goal is to reach that through what we call attrition, right? So we have no layoffs planned or anything like that. We have roughly 100 retirees a year, normal retirements a year. And then we also have another 50 to 75 or so other turnover. So we have somewhere between 150 to even 200 some years where there's turnover in positions. So our challenge over the next 5 years is to find ways to get that. It's about 375 positions that we're going to be reducing.
Okay.
So our challenge is going to be to find ways to get that, to extract those dollars, those positions, and maintain the value that we need to deliver to our customers by way of delivering services. So we've structured it over 5 years, and we're going to be going about this in a strategic way. And we've set up an internal structure to monitor that and to work on the process changes that we have to do inside the company, leveraging more technology, for example, and doing things more efficiently, just being smarter about what we do, so that we can make sure that the customer still gets incremental value, even though we found ways to save dollars. And so we've got to be smart about that. We've got to execute that plan well. We will do that. We have no doubt. I have no doubt that we've got a lot of smart people at work looking at this plan. But it's a necessary part. We really wanted to make sure we had skin in the game. We didn't want to just say it's all about getting money from the customers or whatever. We are actually have skin in the game as well to try to make sure that we make the system better.
Okay, so we're talking about 150 to 200 positions that we lose through attrition. But certainly you're going to fill some
Sure.
of those positions. And how will you determine which positions?
So
will be filled?
what we've done is we've kind of looked at what we call a refill rate. And so what we're going to be doing is we're still going to hire people. We've got to. Because we're losing more people each year than we can afford to lose. So we're looking at a refill rate of about 62%. So that basically says for every 10 jobs that are vacated, we'll try to fill somewhere around 6. But again, that's not 100% accurate. That's our goal, that's our target. But that's the overall refill rate. If we get to the end of 5 years, we want to be able to look back and say, we've for all the vacancies that we've had, we've refilled about 60% of those. That will help us get to the 80% reduction that we need on the labor part of our savings. Now, there are other savings as well that were identified in the study, not as monumental as labor, but there's some other savings that we'll be, of course, pursuing in things like procurement and making sure that there are internal efficiencies that we're looking at, how we're structured and organized with some of our internal actions and activities. Individually, each of those don't really amount to a lot, but collectively they make up the difference in that 20%.
Okay, JT, we're going to take a quick break and come back, and we're going to again continue discussing the savings and how we will be able to provide reliable, safe, and quality services to our customers while we make these cuts that are needed.
Okay.
Share the Pennies needs your change to make a change. You can help ease the burden of a neighbor in need of home weatherization repairs. Your small change is all it takes to make a big difference. You may choose to opt out anytime, but for less than $12 a year, why would you?
I'm in.
I'm in.
We're in!
For more info, visit our website or call 544-6549. All you have to do is care.
Thank you for returning to Power Up Memphis. My guest is JT Young, President and CEO of Memphis Gas and Water. Thank you, JT, for staying with us.
Thank you.
So we will continue our discussion on the rate increase, how that's going to help improve our infrastructure, when our customers will begin seeing changes to our infrastructure. And then we'll also talk about our power supply as we have time.
Sure. Yeah, and so just one other thing to sort of think about is in terms of timing and what to expect. Customers, one of the things that we've built into our plan is over the 5-year horizon, a 50% improvement in outage minutes. So, for example, in 2019, our customers were out 25% more in terms of outage minutes than they were in 2018. So we every year it gets worse, particularly because of lack of ability to do adequate tree trimming and certainly equipment challenges. So
and some of the aging equipment that's 50, 60, 70 years old.
Right, and so what we're doing now is beginning to work to build up our ability to get more trimming done, more vegetation management done sooner, and increase our trimming cycle. We're at about a 4-year cycle. We want to get it down to a 3-year cycle, meaning we'll come and trim that same tree line every 3 years. That's really ideal. So we're trying to get back on track with that, which means we've got to do about 1,400 miles of trimming just in this year. But also, we've got to make sure that we're not missing out on some of the capital improvements I talked earlier about, some of the things that we need to do in our water treatment facilities, as well as some of the equipment and automation that we need to do on our distribution side. We've got some automation that we're looking to install that will help minimize outages, allow customers to get switched back on a lot quicker. That's going to take some time to roll out. What I want to encourage customers to understand is this problem that we've got with regards to reliability is a problem that built up over a long time. It's going to take us a while to get there. When a car hits a pole, we're still going to have outages. When we have bad storms, we're going to still have outages. Our goal and our strategy here is to mitigate that and to minimize the amount of time that the outages occur for the customers. And that's what this plan is really all about, is to make sure the customers get better quality of service. We're here to safely deliver services that create and sustain superior customer experiences. That's our mission, and that's what we intend to do.
Okay, so sometimes we've had questions from our customers wanting to know what exactly is infrastructure. When we're talking about upgrading or bettering our infrastructure, are we talking about substations? What specifically are we going to be fixing that will make the service better?
Infrastructure is a term that can probably be best if you think about your home. So think about your kitchen, right? Infrastructure in your kitchen might be an oven, might be a refrigerator, might be a toaster, might be a dishwasher. It's things within your home that provide a service. So in our system, infrastructure are things like transformers. It can also be the breakers, the things that exist in our substation that control the flow of electricity. Switches, other devices, meters actually are part of our infrastructure. Our smart meter system and all of that, that's part of our infrastructure. And all of those things work together to deliver reliable service to our customers. That's our goal. So when we say the term infrastructure, we're talking about all those parts and pieces that are necessary to ultimately make it so that when you flip that switch, the lights come on.
Okay, so as we roll out, well, now we have the rate increase, which will be effective in July, but we are starting to work now.
Yeah, let's talk about the timing. It's a good point. So if you'll remember, on the electric piece, when we got that approval in January, one of the things that we had were a couple of conditions on that. One was to deliver monthly reports through May on our savings, which we just talked about.
And that's to the Memphis City Council.
To the City Council. So we did our first report in February, at the February 4th City Council, Memphis Committee, MLGW Committee of the City Council. We did that first report on the 4th, and we'll be doing monthly reports on our savings. That was a condition. Another condition was they wanted to make sure that we got an opinion rendered around how to finance. Remember I talked about bonds that we could use to finance part of our infrastructure improvement, and they wanted to make sure that we had an opinion around how to do that. And I'll segue into your next question around power supply, and that's because this particular condition has to do with how we would finance a power supply solution if we were to decide to do something other than what we're doing today, taking wholesale power from TVA. That would, of course, require an investment of some sort, significant investment. There's an integrated resource plan process underway now where we're evaluating our power supply and how we should basically take wholesale power or power in general to get power to our customers. But the condition one of the conditions around the bond issue was regarding a particular proposal that suggested that we might be able to combine our ability to finance a transition to a new way of getting power, combine that bond issue with the bond issue we need for infrastructure improvements inside our system, and use those same dollars and leverage those same dollars and therefore lower the cost to customers. So what we're our bond counsel has given us some input around that and has advised us on that, but we're doing the prudent thing, which is to make sure that we are getting an actual valid opinion around how best to go about financing all of that. I will say that the more we evaluate the power supply situation, we've got one more meeting with our power supply advisory team, a great group of community citizens who are giving us input on things that are important when we think about how to get power. We've got one more meeting late this month, and then we have a community meeting next month where we will also get more input from the community. But the more we evaluate that situation, the more we begin to realize that should we make the decision, and it's being seriously considered, to transition to a different way of getting electricity to this community, we're going to have to make some significant investment. And so those investments, we've got to figure out how best to manage that as we make that transition. And that's still more to come on that. We'll probably have more information later this spring on that recommendation, because it'll go to our board and ultimately to the City Council should we recommend doing something different. Biggest thing to keep in mind is that we're doing this methodically right now. We're doing this, we have a structure, a process. We've had a lot of folks bringing things to us and saying do this and do that, and we're trying to be, I want to make sure that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, long after I'm gone, people can look back and say, we were prudent about this major decision. It's a big deal, and we don't want to mess it up.
And it's going to be about a 20-year decision.
It's a 20-year decision at least, and it's a decision that involves a huge investment. So we got to get it right. We got to measure twice, maybe even 3 times, and cut once on this. We don't want to just jump off and do whatever.
Well, and you mentioned a huge investment, and we continue to hear, initially we were hearing that there was going to be about a $400 million savings. Now we're hearing $200 to $400 million savings if we change the power supply that we currently use. However, there's not been much discussion, public discussion on how much will it cost us on the front end to see a 200 to 400 projected savings for our customers.
Real quickly, I'm going to say it this way. What the process that we're going through right now is called the Integrated Resource Plan. It's kind of like we're designing our house plans for the house we want. And once we get the house plans done and we know what kind of house we want, what size the bedrooms are, where do we want the garage, where do we want this or that, once we get those plans done, we put it out for bids, and then folks who can meet those demands will tell us, here's how much it's going to cost. That's when you really know what you may be able to save. All the savings that you've heard about thus far are based on certain projections and assumptions that are less informed than they will be once we're done with this process. So I don't want to say that there won't be savings. I will just say that we believe that we've got to get through this process and do this the right way. Because at the end of the day, I'm more concerned about the savings at the meter for the customer as opposed to just the wholesale cost savings, because those numbers that you're hearing are numbers that could be saved at the wholesale. But we've got to think about, well, if we decide now we're going to do our own power, then we've got to maybe hire staff or at least pay for a staff to oversee how that all works. We don't have that now. Well, so we've got to think through those kinds of things for years. As you said, 20 years, it's a long-term decision. So we want to just make sure we do it right. And if savings are there, I told folks, I've told TVA this, and I've told everyone this, I'm agnostic at this point. I want to make sure we do what's best for our customers. If I had to rank order it, I would tell you that reliability is most important. It's more important than cost savings, because
and that means being able to turn this switch on.
Absolutely,
when you
and that's because we have relatively low costs today. And not to say that we shouldn't try to save money. Don't get me wrong, but we have relatively low costs today. So I'm more concerned about making sure that we have reliable service at the end of the day that's reasonably priced, so that our customers can do what they need to do for their lives, and that's what's most important for us.
Okay, so do you have an idea how long that process is going to be? Because it tends to drive a lot of what goes on with MLGW and the Memphis City Council.
Yeah, so we're in the process of, as I said, we've got one more formal meeting of the Power Supply Advisory Team, the community group. Then we will have a community meeting in March anybody in the community that wants to bring in comments or thoughts. We will then have to have probably another couple of months of evaluation wrap up, where we're going to need to take all the information that we've got and figure out, how that's going to look. There's probably going to be a public comment period of some sort after that. So I would say that in the May-June timeframe, we probably will be well positioned to bring something to bear with regards to an RFP or to our board. So it'll be somewhere in the late spring, early summer timeframe that we'll have some idea of where we might go, and then it's going to be just a matter of what's best.
And so basically the objective for Memphis Gas Water and staff is to make sure that this process is done well, and that our customers at the end of the day have reliable and the best cost utilities that we can provide.
Yeah.
So I do have one other question that I'd like to ask. When we talk about the rollout of increasing or bettering or upgrading our infrastructure, is there any particular area in Memphis and or Shelby County where you're going to start first?
So what they'll be doing, really, the first thing that we're trying to do is really get started on our vegetation management. That's, other than outside of our equipment issues, being able to get that going is the biggest thing. So what we're trying to do now is to get additional crews engaged with tree trimming, and that's going, in the areas where we've got our heaviest tree growth. We've got a lot of it inside the corridor that, like you just talked about, a lot of it over in East Memphis along the Parkway areas. So you'll probably see more activity over the next couple of months with regards to that. Then what we typically do is we look at where we've got the most, what we call customer minutes of interruption, those areas where we've seen the most outages and the longer outages. We're going to have to walk and chew gum at the same time because we've got some underground cable that we've got to replace in a lot of underground neighborhoods. We've got some areas that have overhead lines in the backyard that we're going to try to convert some of those to underground. That's part of our plan as well. Again, it's a 5-year process, so I ask everyone to be patient as we move through it. We're going to be reporting on our progress. It's going to be available on our website.
Yes.
It's going to be very, very transparent, so people will be able to see what we're doing and all of that. So stay tuned.
Okay, so JT, we are about to end the Power Up Memphis show, and I would like for you to share with our customers any words that you would like for them to know, or be patient with us over this 2020 time frame. What do you want them to know, and how?
Sure.
You know.
Well, first thing I need to tell our customers, want to say to our customers, is thank you very much for the opportunity and the privilege, really, we have to serve you. We are the largest 3-service municipal utility in the country, and I don't take that lightly. We are really blessed. We don't knock it out of the park all the time. We make mistakes, but our goal really is to ensure that we're delivering high value. As I mentioned, our mission is to safely deliver services that deliver and sustain superior customer experiences, and we want to continue to do that. So during 2020, as we move forward implementing our plan, 2020 and beyond, we're going to be doing a lot of work. We're going to have a lot of, there's going to be a lot of moving parts, a lot of activity. My biggest goal is to make sure everyone does that safely. I want to make sure every employee is safe. I don't want us to cut any corners, but I want us to make sure that we're focused on bringing more value to our customers. So we thank you for the privilege and the honor of serving you. Want to make sure that everyone understands that we recognize that no one ever wants to see costs go up. We're certainly going to be here to assist. We have a number of programs that we believe customers can benefit from who need some assistance. We're giving folks a 6-month heads up on when these costs are coming, and so they can start planning for that. And again, we're trying to be as transparent as we can, and so we just appreciate the opportunity to provide service.
Okay, and I just want to make one point too. As the increases come, we do have services at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water where our employees will come out and assess your home and help you find ways that are low cost, no cost ways to reduce your energy consumption, ultimately reducing your energy costs. I want to thank you for watching Power Up Memphis, and thank you, JT, for sharing information with our customers.
My pleasure. Thank you.
At MLGW, we're working hard to make your life simpler. With our new prepay option, you have the flexibility to choose when you pay your bill. Pay a little each week or once a month. You're in control. And with Prepay's simple-to-use interface, you can initiate payments, set balance alerts, and track your balance and usage in real time. Plus, with Prepay, there are no late fees, deposits, or reconnection fees. Avoid any end-of-month surprises with MLGW's Prepay system. Come into a location and sign up today.